clinic going on these last couple of days. How have you felt that that whole event has been going?
I thought it was a fantastic clinic. Close to 800 people here yesterday. You know, as I told the coaches to listen to on Saturday have the clinic start, or excuse me, on Friday have the clinic start with probably the greatest pro football coach of all time, or the greatest pro football coach of all time, and Bill Belichick, and then this morning the greatest college football coach of all time, and Tom Osborne. I mean, it was a pretty cool clinic and a lot of fellowship. I think all of our coaches take it very seriously. I think they did a great job. A lot of support from the people over at the Coliseum to allow us to use that space, so we were able to fit everyone in, and they were able to watch practice. So I was walking down to my apartment last night downtown and saw coaches out enjoying the Haymarket and stuff like that. So I think it's really good when we can show off Lincoln, show off our staff, show off our facilities, and most importantly, show off our players. So really, really good day.
What is the importance of your mind of having 100 or so former players on hand?
Yeah, I'd love that number to be about 700, 800, 900. You know, I'd like that number to continue to grow. And we have a lot of former players that come pretty continuously all throughout. But, you know, the Husker Athletic Fund, they do a great job just inviting guys to come back. I mean, this is their program. And so, you know, we're open anytime to high school coaches, and we're open anytime to former players. And we want our guys to understand that they stand on their shoulders, and just good fellowship, good to see those guys. And you know, when you sit there and look at our team and the amount of guys on our team whose parents were Huskers, both as football players, you know, it's Jalen's mom, Dahlia, is a track athlete. A couple of our guys, Cora Demmer's mom, volleyball player, and then just Husker students. I think just keeping it very family is really important.
Did you get any scrimmage work in today, and how do you evaluate the practice?
Yeah, today was not a scrimmage. You know, with an earlier Easter and a later start for us, you know, the first Saturday, this is our first Saturday. Last Saturday was Easter Saturday, so we gave the guys the day off. That's why we went on Monday. So, you know, you're only allowed by NCAA rules 3 days of scrimmage, which is over 75% tackling, I think. So that'll be next Saturday, the following Saturday, and then the Saturday after that. And we really like what we've been doing. We really like the teamwork, you know, followed by the spring league, and I think it's really raising the level of a lot of guys' play. So it looked like a really good practice. You know, it's always hard to tell when you have so many people there. You know, it's kind of like you're kind of spread out a little bit more. But I thought what I saw was a lot of guys making plays on the ball, which, you know, I think Marcus did a really nice job talking to you guys the other day, saying, you know, you look back to last year, you know, we have to just throw the ball better, and we can't be minus 17 in turnover ratio. You know, we ran the ball well, we stopped the run well. We were pretty decent on third down in some areas. So really true focus on throwing the football has been important. Everyone talks about the quarterback when that happens, but you know, the guys getting open and catching the ball matter. And I saw a lot of plays made on the ball today, which made me excited. So looking forward to watching the tape.
Is it too early to tell if unforced errors are sort of dropping as you want them to in practices with the offense? And I know sometimes it's the defense making a great play or something.
Yeah. You know, that's a great question. I think you have to have a high expectation level to not have them. I think you're going to have them. You know, guys are mastering their craft. They're learning what to do. Especially, you know, the negative of having the spring league is that sometimes you have a younger player trying to block an older player. You have a younger player counted on. The good thing is your younger players get better a lot faster because everyone's kind of counting on them. So we still have issues, you know, but what I see is an overall commitment to execution that's at a significantly higher level offensively than it probably was last year. Probably at any point last year, to be quite honest.
Well, those spring league games too, how close are those to scrimmages in terms of how you coaches evaluate them?
Oh, we coach it the same way. Yeah, if we film it, I watch it. Like we watch one-on-one blocking. To me is just as important as a scrimmage rep. You know, everyone thinks that great players do extraordinary things, but I think the thing that I've learned about great players is great players do like the ordinary things unbelievably well. You know, we would run an option route with Christian McCaffrey, and it wasn't that he would run some route every game that was new. He would run that option route so well that it was uncoverable. Delaney Walker's here with Will Compton. I was talking to Delaney a little bit of football last night. He was talking about an option, a corner post read that he would run. That was his route. Like, he didn't have to change it every game. And he ran it really, really well. And so, to me, whether we're watching 7-on-7 or 1-on-1 or 9-on-7 or team run or team move the field or, the spring league today was third downs, it's all an opportunity for guys to go and make plays. And the concept of, like, in the spring that, like, I need to be playing next to you, we need to have chemistry and all that, that's an absolute farce to me. In fact, I should be such a good player that you can put anybody next to me and I make them better. That's what I'm looking for. If I'm a guard and I need to be next to Ben Scott, then I really don't know what I'm doing. If I'm a guard and I can play next to anybody, then I'm really a good player. If I'm a guard and people want to play next to me, that means I'm really, really a good player. And so what we're doing is, we're allowing guys to really thrive and grow and in different situations. And you're playing quarterback, maybe one day you have the 1-0 line. It's a pretty good setup. Maybe the next day you have the 3rd line. Well, you know what? We'll see what kind of quarterback you really are. So I've enjoyed all of the different aspects of it.
Coach, anyone that's stepped up from a leadership perspective that's really been pleasantly surprising to you in the spring league capacity? And if you can just talk a little bit more about the inspiration behind the whole idea.
Yeah, just the idea was just to play football. I mean, so much. I watch a lot of practices. I go around the country. I see people. We all grew up playing sports all the time. Like our kids are growing up playing stuff on video games and iPads, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just life, right? So to me, we have to do drills, and we have to do team periods. We have to do all those things. We have to script things, but I want them to play. How do you move from a position of like being a little bit doubtful and afraid of making a mistake to being confident? You play, right? You test your limits. You find out you can do more than you actually can do. So we just wanted to play. We just want to be competitive. In terms of anybody stepping up in terms of leadership, I think our leaders are pretty established. The Isaac Giffords, Marquise Bufords, Jamari, Ty, Nash and Terrence got into a fight today almost because Nash wanted to go in. I mean, I love that about Nash. There's so many guys. I mean, just kind of our guys, our older veteran, I think they're doing a great job, and I think what they've done a great job of accepting the young players and, orienting them to kind of how we do things. So no real surprises. I just think everyone's really moving along in a good direction.
You said you wanted 3 scholarship quarterbacks at the end of spring to be ready to be starters. What kind of progress are you seeing in that regard? Just overall progress.
Yeah, they're right on track. Further ahead probably than I thought. There was a time, Steve, where I used to be like, hey guys, don't worry about where you're on the depth chart. And I think I said this the other day, so forgive me, but don't worry about the depth chart. Just learn and grow. And fundamentally, that's what I believe. But if the players are obsessed with where they are, then I'm like, okay, well then, figure it out. Go win. And we sometimes live in a world now where everyone's like, well, why does this person get this? Why is it? Just worry about you. Be great at what you do. We've never kept a great player on the bench. We've never have. I think all 3 quarterbacks, what that's doing is one guy sees a guy flip the protection, and he says, oh, I'm going to flip the protection. It's just players learn from players way more than they learn from coaches. And, if you're one of the freshmen and you see the other freshman quarterback change the protection or adjust the route, then you're going to do it, right? And I think Glenn's doing a great job of fostering that, and Sat's doing a great job of allowing it. And you see them, taking things. Not everything's perfect, but we're definitely moving in a really accelerated pace.
I'll apologize for the loaded question, but being around him and, looking from afar, what makes Bill Belichick Bill Belichick?
He is so smart, has seen so much, that he can make the complex so simple that it humbles you and embarrasses you. I was embarrassed yesterday listening to him, how smart he is, how simple it was. He went, he went 4.5 hours with the coaches. Forget the clinic. Like, he came in and met with our coaching staff. And 3.5 hours in, I was like, Coach, would you like a water, a cup of coffee? Would you like to use the restroom? Because I desperately had to use the restroom, And he's like, I'm fine, Matt. I was like, yes, sir. And just sitting there and just talking, right? And just his recall from things 15 years ago. And, The only reason why we don't get through more information is because he's having to slow down to make sure you understand what he's saying. I mean, so you have this man who's a savant, right? Who's been a defensive coordinator. He's been a special teams coordinator. He's coached, you know, he could be an offensive coordinator. He's been a head coach twice. He's been a GM person. I mean, he's talking about football in a way that just like, I mean, illuminates things and makes things so simple that you're like, oh my goodness. And so it was an unbelievable experience to spend that amount of time with him. Just, you know, and I had a chance to coach against him in practice, so that affected a lot of what I did when I was at, you know, in Carolina and he was in New England. But having that time yesterday, you know, maybe if he was coaching right now, he wouldn't have been so open with us. You know, maybe he's like, I don't want to get this out there, but he did it, and he's a great friend and a really loyal man. You know, like, you know, I got fired. He and Andy Reid were two of the first people that called me. I was thinking about taking this job. He called me and was like, you know, hey, I really think Nebraska is a great place. I got the job. He sent me a bottle of Dom Perignon, you know, and said, hey, congratulations. I asked him to come speak at the clinic. He says yes. His son takes a defensive coordinator job for Washington in our conference, you know, and Jed Fish has worked for him, great friends. He still comes. So just an unbelievable loyal guy. But the amount of football we learned yesterday as a staff, for anybody that was listening, you know, sometimes you get around someone like that and you try to impress them, like tell them what you do. I looked at people, anytime one of our guys on our staff started, I was looked at them like, bro, he doesn't care. He doesn't care what you do, what we do. He's teaching us. Let's just be really honest and open and listen. That's the same approach I've tried to take with Coach Solich, Coach Osborne, Coach Darlington. Just listen, learn, take what you can, build off of it.
More if there's.
How would you size up what you've seen out of the running back so far?
Yeah, you know, we're limited at the running back position just with injury. You know, Ramir's practicing just, you know, kind of in a limited capacity. He's full go. Like, it's just me, right? Like, year 6, shoulder injury. I want Ramir ready to go. Gabe is doing some indie. You know, Quentin Ives has a hamstring, so he's been out for a couple days. I think Emmett's doing a great job. You know, what we want from Emmett is for Emmett to take that jump from, hey, I played last year and made some explosive plays, to like I do it down in and down out. Dante's a guy that's flashing with some big, powerful physical runs. But, you know, just, you know, kind of the conditioning of being the guy play in and play out, like we're just working on that with him and blitz pickup and all those things. But I'm really pleased with Dante and where he's at and where he's heading. You know, Maurice Mazuka is a guy that earned the respect of the team last year on the scout team, and we almost made him the short yardage back at one point. Maybe should have. And Reese is out there, and he's doing a fantastic job. I had one of our former players kind of walk down. He's like, who's 33, man? He's really a good player. And I'm like, I know. And that's one of the benefits of the spring league. These guys are getting a ton of reps. So I've been really pleased with that group, and I've been really pleased with kind of how they're doing things. And then, you know, we have, Kinchin's a big physical power back, you know, so we have a lot of guys who haven't played a lot that are doing some good things. I'm just anxious to see sort of, you know, how that whole room unfolds in the end.
Coach, from former players to Belichick, you've had so many people see your program over the last few days. Just kind of what do you hope they kind of come away with walking out of these doors and out of this building?
Yeah, and I, you know, when I say this with the greatest of respect, it's our program. You know, it's all those alums program. It's the high school coaches here in the States program. It's the players program. It's the universities program. It's the states program. It's alumni everywhere. It's their program. And so I'm just entrusted it for a short amount of time. I'm trying to do the best job that I can. And I know that, you know what, someone will be here after me, and I want them to say, you know what, Matt left it in a good place. And so what I said to the coaches at the end of my session today was, I hope when they come to our clinic and when they see that we designed a logo just for the clinic, or they walk and they see the signage, or they taste the quality of the food, or they listen to the quality of the presentations, I hope, like, all these little things, they say, wow, everything in this program is really intentional, and everything's done at a really high level. And like Susan Els is over there, like she Anthony Crispino, Keith Williams, former player who we elevated this year, Kiera Mayo, Jarrett Washawn. If you don't think that they walked those paths 50 times. If you don't think Cole and Martin were here this morning at 5 a.m. making sure that all the bulbs work, like it just, I want people to understand how intentional we try to do everything. Because if we're intentional about a clinic, if we're intentional about the spring league, if we fly in Big Ten refs just for a practice, then we're probably that intentional with the way we handle our young people's academics, their life skills, their community service, their careers. And that tells those high school coaches, hey, I can send my student athletes here. I love coaches. So, like, you know, sometimes some of the high school coaches aren't used to seeing the head coach at the social. Sometimes they're not used to seeing the head coach walking around. You know, why wouldn't I? You know, I mean, I love people. I love coaching. I love being around high school coaches. Guys, we had high school coaches from Hawaii here. We had high school coaches from Maryland here, from Texas, from California, from Wyoming, from Dakota. I mean, we had people from all over, from Chicago. You know, I don't know what the clinic was the year before we got here. It was about 300 and some last year, 800 this year, and we're going to be back up in the 12 and 1500s if we put together a good product. But the product is representative of the way that we do things. And so that hopefully tells people, if I send my players to play at the University of Nebraska, no stone's going to be left unturned. And I don't know about you guys that have kids. Isn't that what you want for your kids? You don't want, I mean, our kids have to go figure things out on their own, but we want there to be a plan. And so we're not perfect, but we're certainly trying to be. And that's the message at the clinic. You know, I show up at the clinic and there's Coach Osborne. He's got a sport coat on this morning, and he's, you know, it's just all those things matter. They say that, hey, this is important. And you know, for Will Compton and the bus and, you know, and Delaney and those guys, for them to come back and show off our facilities, it shows that it's important. So everything's intentional. Everything's done on purpose. And that's the message I want out there.
As much as you love to get recruits here for game days, just generally speaking, how much do you love to see them watch you practice, how you practice and how you operate?
This will be controversial, but I actually prefer them at practice way, way, way more, because I think we have excellent coaches. And I think, you know, we practice the way Coach Osborne and them practiced, the way Coach, which, you know, 3 fields, 2 fields, 3 fields. You know, Coach Osborne had 4 stations, you know. And so I'm walking up to players with all this talent, and I'm saying, you guys probably think I'm trying to, like, get a marketing deal. I'm just actually really thirsty. I'll say, hey, just imagine with your talent. I said to one, we had a big-time recruiter, I said, just imagine with your talent, if you came to a place that had an unbelievable weight room, unbelievable recovery area, unbelievable staff, unbelievable meeting rooms, best facilities in the country, and where no one stands around in practice, where everybody has a chance to master their craft. And I said to him, I said, have you ever seen anybody else practice like this? He said, nobody. Well, actually, Coach, I did see one. I said, who? And I know the answer. He's like, at Georgia. You know, Coach Saban at Alabama, then the Georgia guys, they all have the multiple stations and the reps and all those things. And I think it's working out pretty well for them. And so, yeah, I think that those, you know, I'm proud of those things and just trying to show those things off, you know, to everybody.
You talked about how important the receivers are to that pass game and the emphasis this spring. What have you seen out of some of the new guys in that receiver room and the returners?
I think they're competing. I think that they're because of the spring league, because they're being counted on, they're limiting their MA. You know, usually young receivers have a hard time learning this many plays, and they are working at it. And they are, you know, your whole team's counting on you, and it's 3rd and 5, and you're supposed to run an in cut, and you run an out. It's practice. Sometimes it's like, oh, get him out of here. But now you got Isaac Gifford on defense, but on offense you have some of those guys getting on him, and then you have 3 quarterbacks, and let me say this, Luke and Jack are doing a great job. So you have 5 quarterbacks who know exactly what to do. There's a little bit more onus. You see guys studying a little bit more and more prepared. But yeah, I've really liked the group. You know, you can tell I'm not singling anybody out because I like the entire group. I like the way they're all competing. And a couple guys, you know, Jalen Lloyd, we'll signal him out because, you know, for a guy, I love the fact he runs track and he comes back and competes in football and you know, makes plays down the field. He's a football player and he's a track athlete. He's not one or the other, and that's really, really cool. So, but the whole group is pushing each other and getting way, 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 way better.
How do you think Marcus and Glenn are gelling in their roles, and how far have they come along together?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I think the whole thing with Marcus and Glenn is probably has been overblown. Like, you know, I get asked about it, like, we did this before. It's actually way more comfortable, you know what I mean, than it was, you know, like, you know, Glenn's worked with me at 2 stops. Like, my life right now is so much easier than it ever has been at any stop I've been, because I have Susan running the entire operation, and she knows exactly what I want. I got Sean running most of the personnel stuff with some great people underneath him. But I've got Corey, who's been with me before, running the weight room. I don't have to go down and be like, are we squatting or power cleaning today? Like, he knows the culture. I've got the best nutritionist in football. I've got the best sports science guy. On defense, Tony runs everything on defense, right? And I got 3 guys who played for me. I trust it at the highest level to coach their guys. Got Gus Felder in player development, who did it for me in Carolina. I don't have to get super involved there. Ed runs the special teams. Like, it's the same drills we've been doing drills today. We've been doing for 10 years. And Glenn, I can walk in. I don't have to go in the quarterback room. You know, Glenn, he's coached my quarterbacks before, and so you know, I've said to him like, "Hey, are we still punch planning this?" Or I can get questions answered so quickly. And then Sat coached my tight ends at Baylor. You know, he coached Ben Sims as a freshman, who's now playing for the Green Bay Packers. I'm so happy with the staff and the way that we're doing things, and so. It's felt more like, instead of settling into a new rule, felt more like, hey, getting back to when we were really good, how we did things, if that makes sense. When we were in the Sugar Bowl at Baylor, which no one will really ever understand how hard that was to do before we started to what we did in 3 years. Probably be one of the most proudest things of our career together. Sat was coaching the tight ends. Glenn was coaching the quarterbacks. When we beat Penn State for the first time in 74 years and probably the most historic win in Temple history, Glenn was coaching the quarterbacks, and Sat at the time was coaching the running backs, but not the tight ends. So I just feel so comfortable with those guys that it's allowing me to free me up to do things that I love to do situational football, to do the whole team, to talk to players one-on-one. And so on the inside, things are as good here as they've been. And so now that I've said that, I probably ruined it. but no, on the inside, man, I'm just really, really pleased with the staff, the players, and where everybody is. And the biggest thing is that the gifts, the ties, the Ben Harts, the Ben Scotts, man, they are comfortable with what we're doing, so that I'm not having to explain why of everything, right? Like, they're explaining why. I mean, I got Phelan Sanford working in the weight room, the guy's, I'm hoping he ends up in the NFL, but he's interning in there. We have all these guys who've been through the process now for a year in all these different areas. They can coach the young guys, because players coach players better than coaches coach players. That's the way you build culture. Anything else? Thanks, guys.